Thanks to everybody for coming along. You guys are all awesome for coming. Thanks for nobody sitting in the front row. You know what that means, don't you? You all chose to sit in the second row. That means that there's no front row. You happen to be the front row yourselves. That's how it all works. You guys over in the corner there, hiding, not over there. What's your name, sir? Brad, what do you do, Brad?
I'm a fitter.
You're a fitter. I think we're all a fucking fitter in one form or another. You know, I think everything that we do fits at one stage. Even the clothes we're wearing. What do you fit then, Brad?
I'm a diesel fitter.
You're a diesel fitter.
Yeah.
Right, so what, Diesel the singer? No? Yeah, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start with that. What's a diesel fitter? Like, do you guys know what a diesel fitter is?
No.
No, right? You do?
Yep.
Maybe you should explain it to me then, because Brad doesn't really like talking about his job.
Alright. Fix big trucks.
You fix big trucks? Yeah, fuck you, that's like every little boy's dream. I would just turn around and say, I'll fix big trucks. It sounds a lot. Well, you guys are in a relationship, eh?
That's too many words, I couldn't say that.
No, I guess not, because I'll tell you what, if I was trying to pick up chicks, I certainly wouldn't say I'm a diesel fitter. I'd say, I'll fucking fix big trucks. Would be the one there. And this is your partner?
No.
No? Somebody else's partner?
Met her tonight.
What's that?
Just met her tonight.
Yeah, gotcha. What's your name?
Linda.
Linda, so you're single, you've just met, is that correct?
Yep.
Right, beautiful. How long have you been single for, Linda? Yeah, she doesn't want to fucking answer that in front of him, does she? No. You can always tell when you put people on the spot there. We'll just have a bit of a chat. We'll meet each other first. What do you do, Linda?
Project manager.
Project
manager.
Project manager, so you manage projects?
Manage projects.
Yeah, right, like the ones we did at school, like those sort of things, or what?
Mobile apps.
Mobile apps. Right, so you need a project for that, do you?
Yeah, that's how you get apps.
What's that?
That's how you get apps.
You get apps with a project, okay? None of the projects I ever did at school involved in that, but you know, I went to school back in the 80s. You know, maybe school in the 2020s a little bit different. How about you folks? What's your name, sir? Andrew. And what do you do, Andrew?
I'm a web designer.
You're a web designer. Right, that means that you haven't quite moved up the level to apps yet, is that correct? No? Would you like to? So I've got someone that might be able to employ you. You know, like, while we're on this subject, I know there's a worker shortage at the moment, so she's probably got somebody in mind there. What sort of like things do you program?
Oh, I design them and then
You design them?
yeah, and then I get a web developer.
Right, so you do fuck all, you just say, right, this is what I want, and you go and do that. Yeah?
I tell them how it
Right, so delegation's your big point, is it? Yeah, gotcha. You should work for the government.
Yeah.
They don't do any work, they just tell us to. Same sort of thing there. And this is your partner?
Yeah, it's my wife. Yeah.
Your wife, yeah, gotcha. Notice how we fucking hang on to you really quickly. It's not like Brad over here that just, he was like, you ain't fucking getting hold of her the way you are. What's your name? Kim. She's like so soft, she's like, oh fuck, he's talking to me now. She's like, oh fuck. What do you do, Kim?
Hairdresser.
You're a fucking hairdresser, right.
Don't go there. It's irony.
What's that?
It's ironic, isn't it?
Oh, it's fucking absurd, actually. She's obviously got hold of you because she doesn't want to bring her work home. Like, it's one of those things. It's like chefs. Have we got any chefs in the audience? No? Chefs never cook at home. They just eat takeaway the whole time. You obviously went for Andrew for that purpose. Is that correct? You can leave your work at work. Yeah? You know this gynecologists, like they're never actually people in serious relationships for that same purpose there. And what would you suggest about like a hairstyle like mine? What would you suggest? It's fine. What about the back? The back's fine? Fuck, it doesn't get me much credibility there. And yourselves in the next row behind, what's your name, sir?
I'm Sean.
You're Sean, yeah, that's what happened to his hair. I think that's been Sean as well, like those bits around there. Yeah, gotcha. And where are you from, Sean?
From Brisbane.
From Brisbane, the whole city or just part of it? Yeah, which part?
Mitchelton.
Mitchelton. Yeah, is it a nice place?
Somebody
else seems to like it quite a fair bit,
I grew
yeah.
up near it.
You grew up near it?
Yep.
Yeah, fuck you. Give a round of applause to her, because at least she grew up, one of those things. I reckon Brad over here is probably one that didn't as well. And what's the best thing about Mitchelton?
Oh, it's a good family area.
Good family. So you got family, you got kids?
We got a kids, yeah.
How many kids?
2 kids.
2 kids, yeah? Yeah, no wonder you're out on a fucking Saturday night. I would be as well.
It's rare.
What's that?
It's rare.
It's rare to be out on a Saturday night, or your kids are rare?
Not sure about the second. No.
You're not sure if your kids are rare, you just got to barbecue them that little bit longer. We've all seen that. What's that show that's coming out now? The Jeffrey Dahmer show? It's a perfect one. And so is this date night for the two of you?
It is date.
And what's your name?
Joe.
Joe. I like how all these people have got like everyone except Andrew, they've all got like one syllable names. Like, they all have. What do you do, Joe?
I'm an occupational therapist.
A The fuck's that? Like an occupational therapist. We've all got an occupation. And I think our job, we all fucking hate our jobs enough that we probably need therapy. Is that what you do? Like you give therapy to people for their occupation?
Yeah.
Oh no, you're the people. You're like what's his name? Q. You come up with all them gadgets to put in people's homes and that sort of shit. Is that right?
Yeah.
So like when my dad was dying of cancer, he had to have like a special toilet, and he had these gadgets that just did everything. Is that the sort of thing you do?
That's what I do.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And thank God for people that are fucked up and dying, eh? Otherwise you'd have yourself no job. Yeah, gotcha. And the two fellas behind you? Yeah, we'll start with the fella on the left. What's your name?
Jesse.
Jesse. Fuck, 2 syllables. Right, that's going to be fucking confusing. And where are you from, Jesse?
Brisbane.
Brisbane. Same part, Mitchelton too? Because that was going to be my next question. Whereabouts in Brisbane?
I'm technically from Logan, but I'm a bit shy about it.
You're technically from Logan, but a bit shy. You must be the only person from Logan that's shy. I literally walked through the fucking streets of Logan and 4 people came out of fucking nowhere. They certainly weren't shy, any one of those ones. And then when they presented my credit card at the local fucking thing after stealing it, I was, robbing me at knife point. Of course they weren't shy either about any of that. What do you do, Jesse?
Student.
Right, okay, so not much.
Correct.
So do you work as well or just a full-time student?
Full-time.
Right, let's give a round of applause to the taxpayers, eh? Yeah. All those taxpayers, yeah? Got you on there. And what are you studying? Music.
Yes.
Right, so we should give another round of applause for the taxpayers who are going to fund you the rest of your life. That would be the one there. What sort of music are you studying? Popular music, yeah. You wouldn't fucking want to study music that no one liked. You'd want to make sure it was popular. Otherwise, at least be a future in it. What do you mean by popular?
Like exactly what you said, the sort of stuff everyone likes.
Yeah, right, okay. Gotcha. So, AC/DC, that's what I like?
Yeah.
Yep. Second most, best-selling band in history. Is that the sort of music you're studying?
Fuck yeah.
Come fuck around at my place. It's all we play. You'll be absolutely fine. What's your favourite song?
Hard to Mess.
Fuck, it's not even an AC/DC song, He just went through that. And what about you, sir? What's your name?
Simon.
Simon. Where are you from, Simon?
Karina.
The fuck's that?
Next to Carindale.
Okay. And where's the accent from?
I think because Brisbane's such a transient city that everyone comes into, this is actually the original Brisbane accent.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I don't even know what my accent is like. I was born in the UK of Latvian parents, grew up in Sydney, then ended up here. Is that pretty transient as well?
Yeah.
I don't know what transient means. That's what I was asking, whether that's actually transient. I've got no fucking idea. And that would be the answer that you'd give me, would tell me what that is. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Well, I just told you a little bit about myself. We're actually here for Comedy Revolution. Right, so the whole idea is, who reckons the last 3 years with everything we've gone through has been an absolute joke?
Yeah.
Fucking absolute joke. So that's what we're here, just to really look at the fun and absurd things that have happened over the last, since 2020, certainly around the place. Now, I did say that once I got to know everybody in the room, I was actually going to start off with my Joe Biden joke. Would anybody like to hear it?
Yes.
Well, the problem is that last time I was going to tell it, or last time I started telling it, I started talking, and about halfway through, I forgot where I was.
You're in Brisbane.
What's that?
You're in Brisbane.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah. I think the rest of it wasn't just where. I think when I was thinking about Joe Biden, there was a lot of things I forgot halfway through there. So, was everybody living in Queensland at the time when this virus and all this sort of shit first arrived? Yeah. You were, Mary. You weren't.
Yeah.
You were in Queensland.
No, I was in California.
You're in California there. So, what was it like with your lockdown and stuff? Did you have one there?
No.
No, fuck yeah. So we fucking did. Do you guys remember that? 3 months it went for that very first lockdown. And we didn't have all the stupidity that a lot of other states had at the time there. So we got locked down at home and we had to stop work and all of that sort of shit. And do you remember one of the reasons that we were allowed to go out was to exercise? Yeah, they actually said that we could go out to exercise. And for one of the things they did in Queensland was they didn't stipulate what that meant. They just said to exercise. And they didn't tell you how long you could exercise for at the beginning. You could just exercise. So long as you left your house, you could just say, I'm exercising. And at the beginning, would you believe this, they actually considered in Queensland motorbike riding as being exercise. That's how fucking lazy we are in Queensland. Right? You can exercise for hours without even raising your heart rate once. Mind you, you saw how I do ride a motorbike. The fucking heart rate wasn't just up for me, it was for everybody else. But after a little while, they put a stop to that, and you couldn't actually go and you couldn't go on motorbike ride anymore. So I was looking at ways that I could exercise that would take up a fair bit of time and actually occupy my time, because I was getting paid $750 a week to not work. Yeah? So who'd want to fucking work when you're getting paid that much to not work? So eventually I ended up taking up hiking. Is there anyone here that goes hiking or does hiking or has been hiking?
Yeah.
Yeah? You have been?
Yeah.
Yeah? Have you got all the gear?
Yes.
Like the boots and the sticks and all that sort of shit?
Not the sticks.
Not the sticks? No, well I didn't have any of it, right? I just went out in me runners. Not just me runners, I did get dressed. It wasn't one of those sort of hikes or anything like that. But down on the Gold Coast, I've gone to a place in the hinterland, because I'm from the Gold Coast myself. I went to a place in the hinterland called O'Reilly's, if anyone knows where that is, up on the hinterland. And I found myself a 6 kilometre hike. How far did you hike, Jesse?
Yeah, 5 to 10.
Yeah, well, for me it was 6, yeah? And I took off on this hike, there I went off on this hike, made it to the end, was fucking proud of myself when I got to the end, and then I collapsed because it almost fucking killed me. Well, I've been riding a motorbike for the last like 4 weeks, so that was the only exercise I got. Right, so the next day I'm determined to do this hike again, because I wanted to do it, I really wanted to. So I've driven up to O'Reilly's and I've stopped for fuel on the way. And I've bought myself 2 of those 500ml cans of Red Bull on the way. Because I needed to make sure I could make it to the end. Now, is there anyone here that hasn't overdosed on energy drinks in the past? Right, so you probably know that if you do overdose on energy drinks, you get 2 things. You get a shitload of short burst energy, and you also get the runs. And I've taken off on this 6 kilometre hike, and I'm about a kilometre into it and I'm starting to get a very heavy stomach. And I realise in my pocket I've got no tissue, I've got no paper. So I've got 2 choices. I can turn around and go back, or I can power through and try and make it to the end. Jesse, what would you have done?
Power through.
Fuck yeah, that's what I did. Went to power through. About another kilometre into it, right, what's happened is I'm just like, my stomach's too heavy and I just can barely take a step, can barely move, right? And I'm thinking I'm not going to make this at all. But fortunately, right where I was a massive tree. Huge, big gum tree. Probably been there for like 600 years or something like that. And I thought, that's fucking perfect. So I quickly ducked behind that. And sorry to talk about this, but we've all been caught short before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Everybody has at some stage, yeah? Now for us fellas, it's a bit more dignified. We can usually stand up straight. For the ladies, obviously there's like a bit of a position, squat position like I take, like in the gym that I do quite often. Although on this occasion, I just wanted to see how much I could actually be at the lower position. So I'm like this. And as soon as I'm finished, I've realised again, shit, what am I going to do? I've got no tissue, I've got no paper, I've got no anything. So I start looking for these big dry tree leaves. I'm thinking that might work. I'm looking for these big dry tree leaves, right? And as I'm looking for those, you would not believe this, but a fucking dog runs past and comes to see me. And it's not like a terrier or one of those little like those things like that, or you know, like this is like one of these dogs. And I'm in this squat position with my shorts down, and I'm very close to finding out why it's called men's best friend. And so quick as can be, I've actually pulled up my shorts right when this woman walks past. She walks around looking for a dog. And she's absolutely fucking gorgeous. And she looks up at me and she goes, Johnny. And I'm like, what the fuck? She goes, Rebecca. We've recently matched on Tinder.
Oh no!
And we've been talking about meeting up, and this is the first time we've actually seen each other. Anyway, so what's happened is she then looks right down on the ground at what's on the ground. She then looks back up at me. And she looks down at the ground, she looks back up at me with like a horrified look on her face. She then looks at the dog, looks at what's on the ground, looks at me, looks at the dog, looks back at me, And then she reaches into her pocket, pulls out a green plastic bag. And to this day, I've still got a few questions. There's 3 questions I've got on my mind. Did she actually carry my DNA the 4 kilometres or the 2 kilometres? The second question was, why did she worry about picking that up in the middle of the bush? The third question is, why the fuck did she never ever respond to any of my messages after that? But then what happened at one stage, if you remember, do you remember during that real, when everything was locked down, I mean everything was like a ghost town for a while, if you had to drive, if you were like one of the, what they call essential workers, you could drive places. And the police actually said that they weren't going to be pulling over speeding drivers and they weren't going to be doing like random breath tests or any of that sort of stuff. Because obviously the social distancing thing. So it was fucking brilliant, right? There was nobody on the road, absolutely nobody on the road. We could jump on our motorbikes so that we were going to work and we could get up on the freeway and just get our bikes open to about 160 k's an hour. You weren't going to get pulled up, there was very little traffic on the road, and this was a time that you could actually really feel like being a man. Yeah? And then soon after all of this, it all changed, and then we could do things like, they opened up, do you remember when they opened up like bars and restaurants for 10 people? That was how they opened up. Well, they still weren't doing any testing then, but you sort of had to be a bit more careful because there were more cars on the road. And then right at one time that I didn't really know it, all of this changed. Now, if you remember, during that lockdown, a lot of people developed alcohol and drug problems and things like that. Yeah. So there were a lot of people consuming alcohol, a lot of people consuming drugs during that time. And when I wasn't prepared for it, I actually get flagged over by the police. They flagged me over, and I turned around and I actually thought to myself, shit, fuck, because I've been pulled over on the actual M1, right near one of those speed signs that says 110. And the policeman's walked up to me and said, do you know why I pulled you over? I said, was I riding a bit fast? He said, no. He said, I pulled you over for a random drug test. Has anyone had one of those? Anyone do? You have done? Yeah? Did you pass or fail? Okay. That's the answer. The second question is, how long did you get suspended for?
No, so they took the tongue scrape.
Yeah.
That came back failed. So then.
And then they sent it away and it came back okay.
Saliva test, and I passed the saliva test.
You passed the saliva test there. Yeah, right. Fuck, I tell you what, that would have been. How long did that take to get the results back?
Half an hour.
For the second one, yeah. But they still send it away to make sure that you.
No, so on site. So.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. See, for me, I passed my first one, so I was fine. Right, and then the very first thing I did was I phoned up my mum. She was so proud of me because I haven't passed many tests in my life, I haven't passed many at all. So I phoned her up straight away. But one of the things about your random drug testing, remember your first the scrape down your tongue, right? For any of you people that haven't had it done, right, it actually takes you 5 minutes to wait for your results. And I can promise you, for anyone that does get one of those tests, right, during those 5 minutes, your memory's very, very clear. In fact, the only time that my memory's been clearer than when I was waiting for the results of my roadside drug test is when I was waiting for the results of my HIV, my AIDS test. Because has anyone had one of those? You dirty bastards. No, because me growing up in the 80s, when I did, AIDS was like the COVID, AIDS was the COVID of the 80s, if you remember. Everybody was going to die, with this at some stage, and we all had to be scared of dying, and they were testing healthy people to try and tell the healthy people they were sick. That's what happened. And one of the things is when I got my actual AIDS test, while I was waiting for that, it takes you actually 10 days to get your results. Right? And during those 10 days, you're thinking about all the nastiest, dirtiest, most perverted shit you've ever done in your life. And surprisingly, when you're thinking about all the nastiest, dirtiest, most perverted shit, you're not even in the shower by yourself. And what I actually found was the biggest winner during that time I was waiting for the results of my AIDS test was actually my internet provider. Not for the reasons you're thinking, no. It's because I was stalking every one of my exes on Facebook to see if they're still alive. And you see, some of them are a little harder to find than others, but I found one of my exes, Susie, right? And Susie was a girl I really, really loved, right? Really loved Susie. And when I actually found that the Facebook profile of Susie, she actually looked like she'd gained about 10 or 15 kilos since we actually dated. And fuck was I happy about that. Well, not because she was obviously healthy and, obviously wasn't, stricken with AIDS or anything like that. But the main thing was at least we dated when she was in her prime. But then after that, I found one of my exes, Cheryl, and when I saw her, it really sort of like took me aback because Cheryl had like really slim face from what I remembered. She was really skinny, she was really gaunt, and I was like, what the fuck? This is not looking good. Then I scrolled down and I found some of what they call her likes on Facebook, and I found out that she's into CrossFit. She's a CrossFit instructor. So that was okay, she there. But the one that absolutely terrified me and really, really, really made me, feel like, oh shit, this is not good, this is not what I expected, was my ex Kelly. Because the pictures of Kelly looked nothing like they did, like the pictures that I would have remembered. The pictures of Kelly looked nothing like Kelly did when we dated. Nothing at all. But I knew it was her straight away. And what had actually happened was I'm scrolling through pictures to try and find out what happened and when it happened, because that can affect quite a few things. And eventually I found a picture of Kelly that I recognised. And it was a picture of Kelly back when Kelly was still called Kelvin. And at least then I sort of it put my mind at ease. But what actually happened while I was waiting for the results of my drug test, I actually said to the policeman, I said, look, what are you guys looking for? And he said, we're looking for the usual things. We're looking for things like cannabis. We're looking for amphetamines. I'm thinking, are they the usual things? And he goes, yeah. And I said, mate, you're doing all this wrong. He goes, what do you mean? I said, you guys aren't too bright, are you? It's probably not the best thing to say to a policeman while he's got your license in his hand. But he said, what do you mean? And I said, you pulled me over to see whether I've been consuming cannabis. I said, I'm in the middle of a fucking freeway. I said, anyone that knows anything knows that if you're stoned behind the wheel, the only place you're going to is a McDonald's drive-through. I mean, they don't let people drive when they've had some cannabis. I said, but McDonald's can have a drive-through open 24 hours a fucking day. Who here ever got a burger at 4:30 in the morning when they were straight and sober? Yeah, nobody. No one's going to either at that time. And then I said to him, I said, what do you mean amphetamines? He goes, things like speed and ice. And I was like, speed? I said, I pointed to the speed limit sign. I said, you've already told me I didn't exceed the speed limit. What's the point of having it if that's not what it's for? And then I said about ice. I said, you're going after the wrong people. I said, you always go after the little guy, never the suppliers, never the dealers, never the big business. He said, well, what do you mean? How do we find them? I said, go to any service station. There's always a big fucking sign that says ice for sale. But I found out, do you know like the actual drugs that they don't test you for, which is really, really cool, right? They don't test you for the drugs that are really going to impair your driving. Right? Jesse, do you know what drugs going to impair your driving more than anything else?
Heroin?
No, not heroin, it's Viagra. What? No, it is. Because I tell you what, Rowan, right, if I'm driving under the influence of Viagra, my mind's definitely not on the road. Well, I'll tell you what, I drive the manual, so I don't need to take my hands off the wheel. That's the thing. The problem about it would be is when my girlfriend's driving and I'm in the passenger seat and I'm under the influence of Viagra, it's dangerous for her too because she'll get the wrong gear stick. I can promise you her mind's not on the road when I'm on Viagra either in the passenger seat. But you mentioned heroin before. Do you know why they don't test you for heroin?
No idea.
That's because no smacky can afford to pay a fine. It'd be a waste of their time, waste of their resources. What are they going to do? Send the heroin addict to court? You'll have to plead guilty to driving under the influence, have to plead guilty for driving a stolen car. Also have to plead guilty to being unlicensed. And when the judge gives them a fine, all the judge is going to say is, I sentence you to, your sentence is a $900 fine. You can't really suspend his license because he hasn't got one. But if you read through the lines, all he's just saying is you've got to break into 11 houses and not 6. But the one that they don't test you for, which really amazed me, and probably the reason I got off the actual drug test, was they don't test you for acid. They don't test you for LSD. How cool is that? I mean, you would have thought that would be a dangerous drug to be driving under the influence of, wouldn't you? Yeah? I mean, put it this way, I thought LSD would be a lot fucking worse than just being relaxed, sitting behind the wheel, feeling like you've got the munchies while you're listening to Bob Marley. Instead of what I was doing, flying down the street thinking I was one of the Jamaican bobsled team, all the whole time a fucking dragon was chasing me. But one of the other things that really happened to me a lot when I was there, during that lockdown period, during that lockdown time, I actually, well, it wasn't during the lockdown, but over the sort of first maybe 6 months of COVID, I actually dropped about 30 kilos. Yeah, pretty impressive, eh? It wasn't that impressive when you really know how it was done. See, what had happened was, you remember like a lot of businesses went under during that time, a lot of restaurants, a lot of cafes and things like that? So I was actually going around for my girlfriend at the time. We were looking at different places we could go and eat because not many places were able to even afford to open. And down on the Gold Coast, I'm walking through an area called Southport, if anyone knows Southport. And I was just by myself at this time, and we actually saw a sign, or I actually saw a sign, and it said Ethiopian restaurant. I'll let that marinate on you a bit. Not for too long, marinate's probably not the right word when I'm talking about Ethiopian food. No, it's going to last a bit longer there. Has anyone had Ethiopian food before I go too far?
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you think of it?
Delicious.
Delicious, yeah? Well, I wasn't sure what it was, so I thought I'd go in there and see if that was a good place to take my partner to. And what they actually had was, you could order off the set menu, or you could order off the a la carte menu. So I decided I'd order off the set menu, because I figured they knew what they were bringing me out, because I couldn't actually read the menu, because it wasn't for people, Australians, it was mainly for Ethiopian, I guess maybe refugees that had relocated here. And I'm sitting down waiting for a while, and who is a foodie before I go too far? Who loves going out for food? Yeah, food's great, yeah. Now, everybody knows that good food takes time to cook, doesn't it? Unless you go to the Chinese restaurant and everything's ready in 10 minutes. Yeah? Doesn't matter whether you order one dish or the entire menu, it's all fucking ready in 10 minutes. Right? So I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, right? Waiting and waiting and waiting. And it seemed like ages. And I never want to be that guy that gets up and goes, "Right, where's my food?" Because I know that obviously they're doing the best they can. But after what felt like an hour, I thought I'd better go and find out. And as soon as I went up there to ask about my food, the lady, lovely lady she was, starts ringing up the cash register. And I'm thinking maybe it's one of these restaurants, you know, like when you go to like the bistro, you pay for your food, then they cook it. I'm thinking it's one of those. Mm-hmm. And the woman says to me, she goes, "So how was your meal?" And I said, "Well, you haven't served me yet." She goes, "I can assure you, you just had a 3-course Ethiopian dinner." And I figured this was a perfect place, because me and my girlfriend at the time, we both needed to lose a lot of kilos. I thought this is the perfect place to take her. So I wanted to actually leave, I left them a nice tip. And I thought, as I'm leaving, I'll give them a really, really nice, polite thing. And so I saw 2 empty glasses sitting on the bar. And I said, "I suppose there are a couple of glasses of Ethiopian beer too, are they?" And she said, "No, there are a couple of dirty glasses waiting to get cleaned." She goes, "Now get the fuck out, you ignorant prick." So of course that wasn't a restaurant I was going to take my girlfriend to. And I go for a walk a little way around the corner, and there's a vegan restaurant, there's a vegan cafe there. We got any vegans in the audience? Fuck, this is like Wollongabba, there's no vegans. Fuck, this is never going to happen a second time. Not in this town. Anyway, so I've gone around, and I ended up going into this vegan restaurant, and would you believe that I actually get served by, what do they call them guys? You would have had them around Wollongabba way, hipsters. Yeah, you guys remember the hipsters?
Yeah.
The guys, like, they had the checkered suits, and they wore like shoes that were like 6 inches too long. They had them pointy beards, and they had those man buns. Remember all them guys?
Yeah.
They never had a smile on their face? Or a girlfriend? No, they didn't, because the only people that thought they looked good were other hipsters. You know, that was really it. So this guy comes over to serve me, and I looked at him, and like I couldn't help myself. I just sort of like burst into a bit of a laughter. I'm just like, and he goes, "What's so funny?" I said, "I thought there were no more hipsters anymore. I said, I thought they all died off." And he said, "What are you saying? Don't you like my outfit?" I said, "It's a bit different." And he goes, "Well, look at yours." I said, "Well, yeah, I'm okay. This is comfortable." He goes, "Well, I'm comfortable too." And I'm looking up at his man bun, because I thought they were dying off as well. And he goes, "You got a problem with my haircut?" I said, "Yeah, I fucking hate it." I mean, does anyone here like the man bun? No? He turned around at me straight away, he goes, "Why do you hate my haircut?" I said, "Well, it's the only one I can't grow." Like, every other haircut I can have, I can even have a haircut like yours. I can even have one exactly like yours if I wanted to. And anyway, he turns around to me, and this is before mullets had come back in fashion. And he goes, I suppose you had a mullet when you were younger. I said, well, of course I did. I said, I was inspired by the biggest legend there ever is. I said, Bon Scott.
Yeah.
I said, look like you've been inspired by the biggest fuckwit ever. Conor McGregor. Anyway, there was a bit of back and forth about quite a few different things, and he turns around to me, and after a while, I think we were insulting each other backwards and forwards. I was having a bit of fun, but he was getting really agitated. And he turns around to me, and he says straight away, he goes, I can't remember what it was exactly he said. And I turned around and I said, mate, I said, you look like a cross between the clown that my mother hired for my 8th birthday and an elf. And that's when he really did get fucking angry, because he actually was a midget. Anyway, so I've decided I've got up there and walked out, and he comes chasing out after me, and like he was really angry at this stage, like really angry, and he actually started getting aggressive and he started getting physical. And like I didn't really want to get into a fight, into an altercation. I'm not a violent sort of person, but eventually he ended up, kicking me with this big swift kick straight to the thigh, and I was like, hey, stop that. And then he gave me another kick, and then my reflexes came, and I just turned around and gave him a big open hander, and he's just gone flying. And he said that was how I dropped the 30 kilos. Yeah, the response to that always goes one of two ways. With that one, you never know which way your crowd's actually going to enjoy that one there. But moving forward, like if anyone remembers, do you guys, like, a lot of people were sitting at home. But what was the most popular thing people were doing at home during that lockdown period?
Watching porn.
You were doing what? That was the most popular thing. So you were obviously spent a lot of time alone, is that correct?
Yes.
You were locked down all by yourself?
Yes.
Well, I fucking hope you weren't doing that in your lounge room with your flatmates. If that was the case. Who do you live with, Jesse?
Myself.
Yeah, no, that obviously, yeah. Makes a lot of sense there. Well, a lot of people were actually listening to music. A lot of people were doing that. They were listening to that. I mean, Jesse, you're into music and you were watching porn.
Yeah.
Was that for the soundtracks?
Yes. Fucking face.
So, I mean, getting back to music, like, would you say the music's better now or was better in the old days?
Better in the old days.
Yeah? And why do you reckon that is? Because I've got my theory, I just want to hear yours.
More originality.
More originality? I reckon it was because the music in the old days was all about drugs.
Yeah.
It was. The music was all about drugs. And, like, some of the best music was literally, I mean, if you read between the lines, you know that's what it was about. And the thing about it is, the better the drug, the better the song that it was about. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've always said, if anybody wants to take drugs, listen to the music first, and that'll, the song will actually tell you whether you should or not. Because there's some pretty fucked up drugs out there, and there's some pretty bad ones. I'll give you some examples. You know how we've got a crystal meth problem at the moment? That's because all the crystal meth songs are absolutely shit. Well, there's actually only really one, but I'll cover that in a tick. I'll go through some examples about the songs that are about drugs. I mean, I'll give you a good one. Who likes Deep Purple, Smoke in the Water?
Yeah.
Yeah? It's about smoking bongs. It's like Smoke on the Water. It's a good fucking drug, it's a great song. You got songs like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. You know what that's about? Yeah, fuck yeah, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Another great song. Great fucking drug. And you got Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix. How good a song's that?
Yeah.
Yeah? That's about the smoking bongs while you're on LSD. That's why it's such a good fucking song. Alice Cooper. Your poison running through my veins. It's about fucking heroin. Great song. Great fucking drug. What about that song by Eric Clapton, Cocaine? Who knows what that's about?
Cocaine.
What's that?
Cocaine.
Fucking all this time I thought about crystal meth. Now actually there's only one song about crystal meth, and if you hear that song it should tell you to stay away from it. And that's why you know that the wrong people are all on crystal meth. That's why we've got this epidemic of crystal meth. Do you know what the crystal meth song is? Ice, ice, baby. Stay away from it as much as what you can do. Now, the other thing, what we found over the period of COVID and that was there was no international travel going on. There wasn't even domestic travel. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
There wasn't even domestic travel happening, but we couldn't even travel overseas. And we were sort of like in lockdown in our areas with just the people that lived around us, so just our own type of people. Do you guys remember that? And I didn't like that because I love when people travel and you get to meet people from all over the place. I really love that. It's been great meeting Mary. It's been great meeting people from everywhere. And one of the things that I love most about multiculturalism is that once you get to know people, you realise that the stereotypes about them are all just not true. So I always say never ever stereotype somebody, because if you do, you're probably going to be wrong. Do you guys feel me with that?
Yeah.
Yeah? I'll give you some examples just recently, right? I actually met a Tasmanian guy who was on holidays on the Gold Coast with his girlfriend. And they both had 2 different last names. I met an English fella, and he never said anything that was like a complaint. He didn't like whinge about anything the whole time I was talking to him. I met an American fella. He was quietly spoken. He said nothing obnoxious. I even met an Indian fella, and I wasn't even catching a taxi. No, I wasn't. I was in the 7-Eleven. No, but he was in the queue with me getting a Slurpee. You know what I mean? Like, you guys were all just stereotyping him. But the best one was actually a guy that I met last week. Yeah, he was a New Zealander who actually lives in New Zealand. Guys, I'm just going to sort of finish on just one little thing there, because what we've actually had, if anyone remembers, just earlier on this year, we did have a big election that just changed the dynamics of Australia. Like, we had to change the federal government there, and we've got a new government that's early in their days, and we'll wait to see whether they'll fuck it up as much as what the last one did. They may do, they may not do. But I think if I went around the room here, I could probably ask everyone a different question. Everybody could tell me something different they didn't like about Scott Morrison. Would I be right? Yeah, or maybe some people couldn't tell me that they didn't like about it. I like giving people a chance, but what actually happened to me, where I sort of like gave it up on him, was about a year and a bit ago, about a year and a half ago. I woke up to the morning to find out that Scott Morrison had changed the national anthem. Changed the words to it. Did you guys all see that? Nobody saw that? No one at all?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you remember. So it's still Advance Australia Fair, but he's just changed the words. Like, it used to go, Australians all let us rejoice, for we are young and free. And it's changed now. It now goes, Australians all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. So if you hear them ever singing the national anthem, that's how it'll be sung now. Just a slight change, but a change all the same. Now, for me, I'm one of these people that's been calling for the national anthem to be changed for a while. But not for the reason that the activists and all of those people there have been wanting to have it changed. I always get careful when I actually say this, because there's 2 lots of people in the audience. There's some of the people that sit there and go, yeah, fuck, we should change the national anthem. And the other half of the room is sitting there going, don't touch our fucking national anthem. Anyway, so one of the reasons that I've always wanted them to change the national anthem, as I said, not for the same reason as the activists do. The reason I wanted to change the national anthem is because no one knows the fucking words to it anyway. I mean, put your hand up if you know the words to Australia's national anthem.
Convenient time.
You guys do? You guys do? You guys at the back? You want to come up here and sing it with me? Anyone want to come and sing it with me?
Yeah.
I'm happy to sing the first verse, you've got to sing the second verse.
Alright, we'll try.
Is that alright?
Yeah.
Because everyone knows the bit that goes, Australians all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page at every stage, Advance Australia Fair. And of course it goes again, in joyful strains, and let us sing Advance Australia Fair. But no one seems to know the bit that goes, beneath our radiant Southern Cross we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this commonwealth of ours renowned of all the lands. For those who've come across the seas with boundless plains to share, with courage let us all combine to Advance Australia Fair. And I was thinking actually myself, right? I was thinking about what if some other countries, what we should actually do is we should change our national anthem, first of all, to a song that everyone actually does know the words to. Not only knows the words to, but we're all happy to sing it at the top of our voice. We're all as happy as can be to sing it. And I went through a lot of songs, I went back a lot of years, and the big song that came to mind that was just above everything else was Cold Chisel's K-San.
Yeah.
How cool would that be, though? All of a sudden we're getting ready for the NRL Grand Final. They said, please be upstanding. The national anthem to be sung by Barnesy.
Yeah.
Would have been better back in the 70s or 80s when he was trashed off his head getting there to sing it. He's teetotal now, so it's not quite the same. But he'd get up there, belt it out the top of his voice. I left my heart to the sappers round Kingston. The crowd would just be going nuts. Could you imagine we've just won like gold at the synchronised swimming? And all of a sudden they're standing up there and all you can hear is, well, I travel around the world from year to year. You know, you've got Australia about to play in the World Cup, we're about to play Argentina, we're about to get flogged 9-0. And everyone's standing up, all the Aussies are up there going, I'm going to hit some Hong Kong mattress all night long. And then all of a sudden I thought about some other countries, if they could change their national anthem to a more appropriate song, because there's some great songs out there that would be more appropriate to the countries than what they've actually got. And I went back, a lot of these songs, went back a long time, because as you said, Jesse, the music was so much better, years ago. And I thought to myself, let's go through some of them. What about a country like Egypt? They could change their national anthem to that song by the Bangles. Walk Like an Egyptian. You can have countries like Mexico, right? They could just win gold at whatever Mexico's good at, boxing or something. And then they'd be up there going, tequila! Kenya would win the marathon. Then they'd stand up to get their gold medal, and all you'd hear them play is Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle. I actually had an American fella, a couple of Americans in the audience. I was telling this joke a while back. We knew they were Americans because we heard them straight away, But the American fella turned around, one guy, he just yells out at the top of his voice, our national anthem should be Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. Sorry, Mary, the accent wasn't that good there, but... And I thought, well, that's a pretty appropriate song, but the most appropriate song would be that one that should be their anthem, is that song by Green Day that came out a little while ago. American Idiot. But you've got some other great ones. There's some other great ones. We've got India's national anthem. Who's been to India? Anyone? No? It's famous for two things. Sachin Tendulkar, the cricketer, and curry. I don't watch Bollywood, so I don't know the Sachin Tendulkar song. So I'll stick with curry. How would their national anthem go if it was Johnny Cash's The Ring of Fire? Thailand, what about Thailand? Yeah? Thailand should be that song by Aerosmith. Dude looks like a lady. And you've got maybe Afghanistan. Afghanistan's going to be AC/DC's TNT. I'm always careful about that joke because you never know which way it's going to go. Sometimes it's absolutely died, and the other times it's really bombed on stage. But I'm just going to finish on this one here because the country that we've left out when we're talking about appropriate national anthems is New Zealand.
Oh no.
So what do you folks reckon New Zealand's national anthem should be changed to?
I know.
What's that?
6 bucks in a licky boat.
Yeah, maybe. That'd be the song, that'd be the national anthem for Christmas Island, I would have thought. Now, New Zealand, I actually asked this question of a crowd recently, and one guy yells out, yeah, what about Bar Bar Black Sheep? And I said, well, their song would actually be really, really good if it was Bar Bar Black Sheep. I said, but in reality, the most appropriate national anthem for New Zealand, imagine this, right? Picture this, right? Australia's playing New Zealand at the Bledisloe Cup. They're at the, Stadium Australia, the Olympic Stadium down in Sydney. All of a sudden we finished playing it, they've done the haka. We've turned around, played our national anthem. We've got to the bit in Kaysan where every one of the Aussies has just pointed to the exit and gone, well, the last plane out of Sydney's almost gone. And the New Zealanders have just responded to us with the most appropriate national anthem for New Zealand ever, which is actually Peter Allen's I Still Call Australia Home. Folks, thanks very much for having us. Really big round of applause to Chris and also to Daniel that started off for us tonight. It's been Comedy Revolution. Thank you very much for coming. Without you people, we can't do this. So give a big round of applause for yourselves for being here and for helping us out with this show. Thank you very much. My name's Jonny Winter. Really appreciate you all coming. Thank you.